Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Emergent Gamer Podcast, episode 260. I'm one of your hosts, Trip Zero. I got Locke and Key.
Yo, what's going on, everybody?
We have a special guest, Demos, on the show. Welcome, Demos.
What's going on, everybody?
And we got Neo Ayoshi, of course.
How you doing, guys?
Everyone, how you guys doing, man? How's your week been? Chilling?
I'm good. Yeah, it's real good.
Sorry. Yeah, man, it's another week in 2020. You know what I mean?
What a fire year, guys! It's been fire.
It's been great.
Only getting better.
I'll tell you guys, I spent 2.5 hours at the DMV today. That was a trip. That was a lot of fun. Waited outside.
Did you wear a mask the whole time?
The whole time, man. The whole time. And there were people not wearing a mask. There were half wearing a mask or whatever.
The good old nose out.
The nose out is my favorite.
And my favorite, someone came in with a motorcycle helmet and just wore that the whole time, like a legit full-on motorcycle helmet. Yeah,
effective.
Yeah.
A bit aggressive, but effective.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
A bit aggressive.
Yeah. So housekeeping stuff, of course, you know, we have our YouTube. If you guys haven't subscribed, please subscribe to our YouTube. You got to search Emergent Gamer on YouTube right now. We're still on our way to 100 subs, so we can get a nice crispy link for you guys.
We are
please find
like
and subscribe.
15 away from that.
We're close.
Nice.
15 away. Let's get that number pushed up here. And speaking of that specifically, we have Demos right here, who we're going to start with actually right now. Demos does our editing for our YouTube. So with that being said, Demos, what's up, man? How are you? Thank you for being on the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you like gaming, what you've been gaming. Dive in, dude.
I mean, I like playing all kinds of stuff. Me and Neo, we've been playing Ghost of Tsushima since release date. Well, I didn't play much on. Well, I didn't play like midnight, but I played most of the day Friday. Like we dove in. For the most part, like I just kind of play whatever. Pretty good variety of everything. Like speak on that, like I fucking love Ghost of Tsushima. We're gonna talk about it more later, but like that game is just like really hitting the spot of like what's fun to play.
Yeah.
But back to what Trip said real quick. Subscribe on YouTube. Me and Neo are going to try to have a spoiler cast for Ghost of Tsushima come up next week.
Yeah, whenever we finish it, like I'm gonna hope to. I'm going away this weekend, so I'm gonna try and get some game time in. But and then if anybody else, like maybe at Lunar Castaways finishes it, maybe we can get some of them on, just so we can have a nice panel of people to talk about it. Yeah,
not just me and you talking into a vacuum.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, definitely, I'm definitely enjoying it too. Absolutely. We'll talk about it in a second. But what other games are you liking this 2020? What are some of your favorites right now?
I don't think I've played a whole lot in 2020. I've kind of just been like waiting it out. Nothing's really standing out to me. Like I like the first Last of Us, but it wasn't the masterpiece that everybody says, mainly because they don't like Naughty Dog's combat stuff. Like their narrative is really good, but I'm like, I don't want to play a 20+ hour game just for a story if I'm not having fun with all the gameplay moments. Which I'm sure other people do. I just don't. So I'm not super big into JRPGs. So Final Fantasy, Persona 5 Royal, not super it for me.
I do know you like the Pokemon game.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon.
You've been playing the DLC, yeah.
Yeah, first week or so, first few days, I pretty much cleared out everything there was to do in it. Granted, it was only like 8 hours of stuff to do. But it was a fun time.
Is it a worthy addition to Pokemon? Is it worth me
depends what you booting
it up again?
The DLC, it's fun. Like I said, it's 8 hours of fun. Like you pretty much do literally everything to do in the DLC in that 8 hours. Outside of that, it's kind of like you don't need to get it because people can just give you everything that they added into the game. You don't have to like go catch it yourself. So
nice.
So if you want to,
it's cool.
Well, I know you're waiting to talk about Ghost of Tsushima, so go for it, man. What are you enjoying about Ghost of Tsushima?
I mean, we can just forget Locke. It's not like he's doing anything this week.
Oh shit.
No.
We don't have to go. I mean, You guys can talk about your game.
Oh shit!
During the
you're
show.
fine. You're fine.
Because demos could talk. That could go right into Neo. Neo, you can talk about the game. That could
Try to give you a hard time.
It's all look. We're a living, breathing, organic show. It can happen. It's okay.
It's one of the things that people have said a lot with like reviewing the game is that the game has style, because right as soon as they like announce the Kurosawa mode, you're like, all right, they're really heavily influenced by these Japanese samurai movies, and you get it, and it's a beautiful world to go in. Everything looks so alive. Like you see all these people over. You never really have these dull moments in the open world. Like anytime you're going from place to place, you see all these other things you want to just like, oh, I'll just take care of that real quick.
And the game does it in a really brilliant way too, with the wind, and then the second thing they do is they use the environment. Like they throw a golden bird at you, and the golden bird kind of like guides you to like points of interest. It's
a cool thing they do with a narrative where they talk about like some of the Japanese mythology behind stuff, and they'll talk about something, and the main character will say something about how it relates to a story he was told when he was little by his family or something like that, and then you see that in the world, and it had, and like you'll talk to NPCs and they'll tell you that it does something. And then it kind of like you make a connection in your head, and you're like, oh, this is actually really cool, because they're taking that narrative leap without telling you what to do, or that game direction leap without telling you directly what to do, and then having the game tell you why they decided to do it this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's actually really brilliant, because they do. It does seem like they put a lot of care and thought into just the world building itself. Just the character interactions, the way the world is laid out, like they do a lot of showing and not telling as well. Just by like with the shrines, and just a lot of like the people that you interact with, and everything in the world. Like it shows homework was done. Go ahead.
2 questions for you. One, do you think it's the best iteration of open world that currently exists? And 2, do you think the reviewers that are saying it's the best PS4 game that's come out and ending the generation of PS4, it's done it in the best way that it can be? Would you agree with those 2 statements?
I think it definitely goes out on a high note for the console.
Yeah.
And that's a point I'll get back to in a little bit. But it takes a lot of inspiration from other open world games, and it refines it to an extent. I can say there's certain things that kind of clutter it up a little bit. Like there is one activity you can do in the open world that I think is a little, like, it makes sense in the concept of like a samurai and in this world, but I think it's unnecessary, because doing it doesn't do anything for you. What you get from doing it doesn't really do anything. It's just kind of there. And I think it's to like have you take a moment to just relax in between all these other things going on in the world. But okay, like it's still something I think is kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, I don't know if it does open world like better than other open worlds. There are definitely a lot of other games that definitely do it better. A few things I would have liked to see, because the game takes place in the middle of like Mongol occupation of Tsushima. One thing that I feel like they could have done was showing a constant like push and pull of Mongol, taking over different areas of the game, kind of like the Nemesis system, like in some way, but you're really just freeing the land as you work your way across the game. Like you're really just pushing the Mongols back the whole time. But being able to like revisit older areas and like just like saying like, oh, the Mongols are attacking the south again would have been a good way of getting you to go back. But again, that would also clutter the game up with like more activity. I'm trying to think of other things that like other better open world games, like maybe even like GTA 5 is probably up there with one of the best styles of open world game, just because of the activities that it does provide you around its open world. But
it's kind of similar to GTA 5 in that sense, where it's like you can walk across this like field, and on the other side of the field there's some Mongols, and they've got this woman held captive, and if you rescue her, she'll tell you to go somewhere or tell you about something going on in the world. And because you did that, now on your map there's this activity you can go do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's similar, like GTA does a similar thing where you have those random NPCs and random encounters and stuff like that. So like I said, it is inspired a lot. It doesn't do anything with that like better than anything else, but it's generally good. And I think that's about it. Like I'm not bothered by anything it does with the open world necessarily.
I think it excels most in its combat. I think is probably the most engaging and fun part of the game, and it just makes you want to engage in the combat more, because they provide you with not only your basic samurai kit, your samurai sword, right, your katana. They give you a whole bunch of other tools that you can use, like kunai, smoke bombs, sticky bombs, and it makes the combat really dynamic. So you can actually approach any situation stealthily, or you can choose to stand off against the enemy camps and then just go in head first and take them all on in honorable combat. And it's honestly a lot of fun. The variety of enemies are great. And you have different stances that will take on different enemy types, like sword and shield, pike users, just plain sword users, and it actually makes you kind of change up your play style as you're engaging in combat, which is I think a really fun time.
It's like a system that rewards you learning the system, so you kind of flow in and out, and you feel like you're doing better because you're utilizing more things.
Do you guys feel like it's the best combat system that you've played?
It's up there for sure. I mean, if we're going to compare it to the best combat system, which I think is probably the Batman games, just the easy, it's up there with Spider-Man PS4 and the Batman series. It's close. It gets really close. One complaint I've seen online is people are complaining that there's no lock on, like target system, like a Z targeting, or how Dark Souls lets you target an enemy. And
right.
Honestly, I think that's counterintuitive to how they want you to, or how the game wants you to play it, because it wants you to engage in multiple enemies, like Batman games, right? Because Batman, you're surrounded by enemies at all times, countering and punching, and using your tools, your bat tools. In this game, it's very same way. Yeah, go ahead.
That being said, a lot of people's issues and why they want to lock on is because in combat, say you're rolling backwards, you can roll backwards into a wall, and then the camera just kind of starts getting all weird. And that's the reason why people want a lock on, is because the camera is the issue. So when you're in combat, the camera is probably one of the there's a lot of criticism that I'd have, things I wish they had done differently, but not a lot of complaints that I think is just not good, which the camera would be one. The camera just doesn't work very well in combat sometimes.
It's fine if you're in an open field, but the moment you get in tighter areas, it does become a problem for sure.
I feel like a lot of games have problems with camera in combat.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a difficult thing to solve for if you're not having the game focus on a single target while you do moves like rolling and things like that. What did you have, Trip?
I kind of want to ask you guys both, either answer together or one and then the other person. So I watched a lot of gameplay of this. I watched some other streamers when they had early access. I watched Neo. I watched your stream on Friday on launch day. Watched a lot of that. The game does seem, beautiful and engaging and a fun world to be in. I guess what I would really want to know is do you think there's enough to do? Say if you just wanted to, a hallmark of a lot of open world games is that you can just kind of fuck off, right? Not play the story, kind of live a pseudo kind of experience, kind of doing whatever you wanted to, and then maybe kind of come back if you have to the main story. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's enough to do that in this game if somebody wanted to, or is this game primarily a story-driven game based in an open world that you can have a lot of fun exploring, but it's still dependent on you living the path of this person's life? And is there enough to do even if you just wanted to do that or wanted to do none of that at all? How did you feel existing in the world outside of just the corridor of the story experience?
Do you want to go first, Demos?
Yeah. So basically how the game starts is it starts you on the beach the day of the Mongol invasion of the island. So once the world opens up, it's after that you're kind of dealing with the aftermath. The main character a family member of his gets held captive by a Mongol in one of the castles on the island. So, and I'm trying to be as non-specific as possible just to not like spoil anything. So one of the things, because they've now taken control of majority of the island now, what you need to do as the main character is he decides he needs to free his uncle, and he wants to go find allies. So immediately what the game does is it gives you a checklist of story missions where you have to go recruit some allies to help you raid this castle. And they're just kind of scattered throughout the open world, or this section of the open world that they have. Outside of that, you just have like free roam. There's a couple of locations it doesn't let you access because it shows up in the story, but it also doesn't flag it as a named location that you can visit until you're able to.
Okay. I guess the comparison point on the other end of the spectrum that I think Trip is leaning towards is like, you can play Witcher 3 and never touch the main story, right? Like, that game is so dense that
run to a village, hang out with them,
right? And you can do what Felix did, right? You could just play Gwent and drink and so like I think the question is like, after the game opens up, is there enough to do where I can say I never want to touch main story, I'm only going to do all of these side missions because I find them more interesting, right?
Just to fill that question a little bit more, like you said, Locke, is the world dense enough to kind of have those experiences, or like alternatively, does it matter? Does the game do enough in other ways that it doesn't matter that you don't feel the need to do that? Because that would also be an interesting point as well.
I mean,
go ahead.
I can already tell you that like playing through the story is very much like you're playing through like a samurai drama, which is great. I love every second of that. But once I'm done the story, the side missions, with this area, getting all the collectibles, the haikus that you can do, the standoffs, like all the side stuff, like there's a lot to do and a lot of cool environments and vistas and things to explore. But the moment I'm done with the area, I don't need to return, and I ultimately will complete the game. And if I want to play through it again, it'll be either a new game plus, but I'll be doing the same things again. Like it's not one of those like living, breathing world games. It's going to be you're going to complete this story, the side stories, unlock
it's
all
more
the
weighted
things.
to the narrative, really.
In kind of like in Sucker Punch fashion. It's like you got this whole island and it's separated into 3 segments, which generally follow the story's 3 acts. So the first act, you're in the first section of the island, second, so on. So you have this first act that you only have access to, and like you said, you pretty much do all the side stuff, like save this town from Mongols, go follow, like it showed in the trailers, one of the trailers, follow this fox to this shrine. It's like you do all that on the island, and then you're done on this section of the island, and time to move on.
Got you.
Yeah, so ultimately this game will come to a close, right? Like, and if I platinum the game, which I probably will, it's a very attainable platinum. But after that, it's like, okay, I've completed this journey, and I have no reason to revisit it unless I want to keep experiencing the game, like the gameplay and everything.
I want to say roughly doing everything on that first island, including like even because it's got fog of war, it doesn't have like a tower system. It was maybe 50. I think it's like what 12 to 15 hours.
Yeah,
for the first act. Yeah,
it's definitely a beefy section. And then once you finish the first act, it actually does ask you to go back to the first part of the island and do a couple things. Yeah, but
it's similar to like what you said, where it's like kind of a struggle, but it doesn't feel like it. Yeah, it's not like a Shadow of Mordor situation, right? It feels like you're cleaning up the map.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, overall, go ahead.
Oh, that was one of the things. What you said about closing out the generation is one of the things, and I don't think we have it as a news topic this week, is that Sucker Punch sort of nerfed, I guess is the term most people are using for it, of their load screens, because on their load screens between like fast traveling, like checkpoint reset, stuff like that, they'll show a tip like a lot of games do. But they had an issue where because of how the architecture of the game is, it's designed so well, load times were under like a few seconds for fast traveling. Like even fast traveling across the whole island was like 5 seconds maybe.
It's pretty good on this old PS4 that I have. It's pretty great.
So you would respawn from a checkpoint or something, and you wouldn't have time to read a tooltip, or you would do one, you wouldn't read more than one. So for certain, like say distances of fast travel, they had to like extend the time frame to do it. And it reminds me of like the Mark Cerny like tech reveal of how the PS5 works, and how he described how the PS5 reads the game data is exactly how Sucker Punch designed like the files of Ghost of Tsushima.
It's almost as if it was designed for the next generation. Yeah.
It's probably going to have a remake probably instantly when PS5 comes out.
It's funny though, because even when you die in combat, the game actually delays itself while you're laying on the ground kind of struggling. It's until you like unlock an ability that lets you like come back from it, but you're like literally on the ground and the enemies like kick you around a little bit, then stab you. That's like masking loading times. Like all that is like it's already preparing to like reload your position in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll like lose all your health and just lay on the ground, and like some guy with a giant axe will just come over and execute you, and you're just like, wow.
That was good. It was really nice of them. But yeah, overall the game is beautiful though. You gotta really admire. Like I have a lot of screenshots I'm gonna upload to Twitter soon, but it is a great looking game.
I want to say personally, it's my favorite PS4 game.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. That's a
because I already like vibe with the samurai stuff. Because it almost feels like the origin of like what a ninja is in Japan is almost what it feels like. But unlike vibing with the samurai stuff and everything in this, the narrative is, I wasn't expecting the narrative to be as good as I'm finding it.
It's pretty good. It's pretty engaging, and the characters are really fleshed out. Like all the characters that you meet, and they don't do what Witcher does, is and make you like meet a million people and do a million like different side quests for like random people. Like you find a core group of people, and they really flesh out their backstory, and the things you do with them and help them are really, really engaging, and you remember the characters. Like they're very memorable, which is nice.
But I think it's a really good game, and it came out at one of the worst times because there are so many people right off of The Last of Us 2 who are just gonna be like, I'm just gonna wait till the PS5 to touch anything.
I think that's what Trip Zero is doing. Trip Zero is like, I'm gonna wait on this one.
Yeah, I mean, like it seems like a well-made game. You know, probably a lot of fun to play for sure. But me personally, I'm just kind of not sold on it. The way Demos you were mentioning earlier, how the Last of Us combat kind of wasn't for you. I haven't been sold on the concept of this game as a complete package. So I've decided to not jump in right now. So, but I mean, like, you know, I'm not shitting on people that like it. You know, I'm sure it's an amazing experience. I've watched people just absolutely love what they're seeing and what they're experiencing. That's dope. That's why games are great, because everyone can have these experiences. You know, I'll just scoop it on one of those PS5 free months with PlayStation Plus in the future. That's my game plan.
For sure.
There's one other thing I like to add is kind of like how Sucker Punch does their games. Like there's a level of polish, whether it's like something traversal or how it looks. There's always just like a little bit of jank. A lot of people are giving it a lot of slack for it, but I think the jank is kind of a charm for this game, because otherwise it's like he said, it's a samurai drama. So it's like all these characters dealing with this really like horrible or awful stuff and things like that. And like you'll just have a moment where an NPC will just spin in circles. Or I walked into this camp and there was a Mongol asleep, and I guess I made noise, and he T-posed like a vampire and just started like attacking me. I'm like, what's going on? It's like these janky moments are like adding some lightheartedness to it in a really weird way that kind of makes up for it being very serious the whole time.
I had a really weird bug last night where I was raiding this camp, and everyone who tried to attack me instantly got hurt by touching me. So like I would just like walk into people and I didn't do anything. Like they would just get hurt by like looking at me and like getting close to me. It was such a weird bug. I had to restart the game after that. But also some like traversal.
You should have wrote it out, man.
Just wrote it out. I know. Just read the whole.
Kept going, dude.
But it was also like not making enemies engage with me properly. So like I had to like hunt them down. It was like really messing with the entire like experience. It was really strange. But another thing, some like traversal is kind of weird. Like I'll jump for a ledge and I won't grab it properly, or like I'll miss it, or I'll go in a random direction. Just like really weird things like that happen. But I gotta tell you, like aside from all those, like the game is a fun game. Like it is. I'm gonna play it out and have a great time with it because I like the sailiness.
All the way.
Oh, I'm going for it. Yeah, for sure.
Since I haven't listened to anything related to Last of Us 2 that we've done, where do you currently feel is the better game?
Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
Like as a game, yeah, Last of Us 2
as a game, as a whole package.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it is.
I'm just I mean, I know we can't dig into that. I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on, these are two big titles for PlayStation.
I mean, coming from like a narrative, a technical, like, the technical perspective, the combat I actually really liked in Last of Us, aside from my aim sucking in the game. But
it is clunky though. I do know what Demos is talking about.
Oh, for sure.
The Naughty Dog style can be brutal, especially with the camera.
But if you look at some of like if you look at some of the Sunil Legend gifs on Twitter, that guy makes some real great gifs, and all the ones he did of Last of Us 2 like really showcase how good and dynamic the combat is, and like it's like it's one of the best games out this year. Like like regardless of what you think of the story of Last of Us 2, I know it's very divisive. It is a really great experience. Like overall, like the whole package is there, right? This game, Ghost of Tsushima, I need to finish it, obviously, see how it all wraps up.
Sure.
But so far, I'm enjoying myself. I love just roaming around and doing samurai shit. Like that is the pinnacle of what I can ask for.
Samurai shit.
It's great. I love it.
Sure.
Nice.
I get it.
I'm glad you guys are stoked on it.
Yeah.
Locke, you want to give us a little Locke weekly update recap? Gaming?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still just playing Valorant. So yeah, I don't really have much else to share. I'll probably end up doing Last of Us 2 soon. I was just talking to a buddy about he had texted me and asked me if I had played it yet because he was trying to have a conversation about it. So hopefully I will play that soon. I don't know, man. I have such a hard time playing narrative-driven games now. Like because of how much break time in between them I'll likely get. It's hard. Like I struggle with that amount of time in between play sessions, where I lose the drive for the narrative. I feel I'm so taken out of it that like trying to get back into it is really tough.
Sure. Yeah.
So I want to try and I was a big fan of Last of Us, so hopefully I can get through Last of Us 2.
Personally, I think the connection you have with 1 is going to carry you over into 2, and you're going to feel real strong ties to that world, and it's a game for you,
right?
Like in a lot of ways, including the way that usually these days everyone streams a game. Like this is a game you're just going to play and experience. Right. So you're really to be able to have whatever kind of connection you want to it. And I think you're really going to be able to kind of find that story-driven experience that you want out of this one, especially because you're right. Like story games aren't really what kind of they used to be, right now at least.
Yeah, and it's also like I was just talking. The comparison point that I had when we were talking about Last of Us 2 in this text conversation was like Horizon Zero Dawn was probably the last game that I kind of fell into for a while, but it was the same issue that I've had with a lot of other story games where I fall out of it for whatever reason, life, other games, yada yada yada, and then I for whatever reason I can't just jump back into it and be at the point where I left off. I just really struggle with that.
Sure.
And Horizon Zero Dawn's a really great example. I got like 75% of the way through the game, and that's why I'm excited for the PC release because I'll probably end up doing the same thing, to be honest, playing 75% of the game, but like revisiting it on a new platform. Where Last of Us at the time that I played it, I played it all the way through in probably 1 to 2 play sessions. So I'll probably try and do something similar with Last of Us 2, and then give my thoughts on it. But outside of that, it's just been grinding ranked in Valorant.
Nice.
Neo and I have played a bunch.
Silver 1
so
now, I
that's-
think I am.
No, you're Silver 3, dude.
Silver 3. Hell yeah.
Silver 3.
Where
dude.
are you guys in the ladder?
You're climbing, dude.
Woo!
Climbing.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the carry.
I am Platinum 1 right now.
That's pretty high.
Probably close to Platinum 2. So the ranks are Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, Diamond, Immortal, and then the highest rank, which is called Radianite. So I think we're all pretty much in line with one another between Silver, High Silver, and Platinum is where really our whole crew is. Which I would probably say is like average to above average player base.
Sure.
I think, we probably fall somewhere in the middle. But it's been fun, and I really enjoyed the game. It's really hard to go back and play other shooters after playing that game, because of how well made it is from an architectural standpoint. Like I tried to play Destiny PvP the other day, and it's honestly fucking impossible. It's utterly impossible to play that PvP now.
How so specifically though?
I know the weekly rotator is like Team Scorched, where you just have a fucking rocket launcher and just shoot everyone. That's the most fun right now, obviously, in the game.
I feel like that is something I would enjoy in that PvP.
Right.
Like I can't go and play like something hyper competitive in that
Trying
anymore.
to take right now in that sandbox, and now it's terrible.
It's between the sandbox and just like the low tick servers and the lag on the peer to peer and just all that is just it's so hard now. It's almost bad. I'm almost like upset that Riot gave me this, because like if other games don't meet this like level, it's going to be really hard for me to go play.
Go to anything else, yeah.
Like I think Overwatch is probably, before this, Overwatch was probably did the same thing for me, which was like, this is a very well made tactical shooter, right? Hero-based shooter, I should say. Set the standard, right? It has
Competitive
good
focus.
servers and competitive focus, but it didn't do it enough for me to not go and play a game that has significantly less focus in PvP.
Right.
But we're on the heels of the Halo 5 news, or Halo Infinite news tomorrow. So I'm hopeful that we'll have another really good shooter in the future. I probably shouldn't put all my eggs in that basket.
Look, hype's a great thing. It's a magical thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is if you're not putting all your eggs in the Microsoft basket for game development. But
I know.
So really just outside of just watching streams, it's just been Valorant for me.
Cool.
Trip.
I won't be too long. I'll kind of wrap up a quick summary of my week, and then we'll transition to some of the news points. I'm still on The Last of Us Part 2. Again, no spoilers for sure, but my stream tomorrow will be the end of my journey in that game for sure. Based on where I'm at, based on people in my chat kind of describing things.
How many sessions have you had? I've seen you streaming it. I haven't tuned in, but I've seen you go live.
8. It'll be 9 streams tomorrow.
Okay.
So
nice.
The in-game counter says 29 hours. That game counter does not count repeat attempts. It can't. It literally can't. Because of my stream time more than that, Okay. There were some things that I tried to do, like specifically challenge-wise when I was playing, that extended the time. I'm also a player that will look for everything.
Sure. Right.
Every room, get every piece of equipment that I possibly can. So that, of course, extends time. But I'm loving it, and especially with the decision to not jump right into Ghosts. I feel like I'm really getting, every single value of every dollar I put into this game, and I've been absolutely in love with the experience.
Because we haven't spoke, I mean, I tuned into maybe 1 or 2 of your Last of Us 1 streams. You were still pretty early on in the experience. What was your thoughts on 1 as a package, and then how did that lead you into 2 and what you're experiencing now?
Do you mean in terms of the story or just everything?
Sure, just everything. I mean, you're probably one of the last people on Earth to play Last of Us 1 blind this late in the game, right?
That's actually really fucking good.
I'm just curious on what your thoughts are. I'm sorry if you've already done this on an episode.
No. we actually haven't done the whole one into the other, because the last time we would have talked about this, I wouldn't have been deep into 2 by any means. But yeah, I did Last of Us Part 1, obviously, into the DLC, straight into 2. And if we're going to compare the games as games, 2 does like 90% of every gameplay choice incredibly better than 1. My one real sticking point, we have 2, maybe 3. One of them is your upgrade paths are no longer like free choice, how they were in the first one. You know, you can kind of change, you save up your materials, whatever, and buy whatever upgrade. In this one, you have like different like paths. You have to like actually, you start with like, I think you just start with 1 actually. Upgrade path of 5 perks, and you find manuals in the world to give you additional upgrade paths. And then once you have additional paths, you can then choose from those paths, but it still is linear. You have to go first perk, second perk, third perk, and build on those perks.
Okay.
I like the freeformness of everything, but I feel like maybe they made that decision because it could break the game a little bit. Like when I was playing 1, I found myself saving up because I was like, that's the best thing to have, obviously, and I can survive with my gameplay style until I get that, and then I'll be even better. So I could just like hone on real specific, real good shit right up front and kind of like, play conservatively until then. So they do force you to experience those gameplay paths. It's probably better for training you how to experience the game and how to play in the ways they want you to. It's a preference of mine. The only other weird thing is that they in the Last of Us Part 1, R1 was your change shoulder view when you're looking around corners or whatever.
Okay.
In this, they bound that shortcut to swap through all of your weapons. So if you have your shoulder slings, you can hit R1 to go through like your long range, your short range weapons, and that's like your quick shortcut. And they changed the shoulder swap to while you're ADSing, you hit square.
Interesting. Okay.
I personally would have swapped that because you build the muscle memory of like aiming and looking, especially with like switching your view and everything. It's a nitpicky thing.
For Uncharted 4, it was triangle.
But it's a good call out. It's a good call out from someone that went from like I would never be able to call out that because I haven't played 1 in forever. Right. So like I don't remember what the actual like mechanics of it were on that granular of a level. But that's interesting to see like. You boot into 2 and you're used to like doing something and you go to do it and it's like, well, that's not what I want to do.
They're probably hoping everybody had about 7 years to forget those key.
I was definitely fighting with it as well.
Yeah, to something you brought up earlier, Neil, how smooth the combat is, because there are a lot more like movement-based things you can do in this game. Like you can go prone. You can go running into prone. Like you can actually sprint and then like hold the circle button to like throw yourself onto the ground and then start crawling. So much of these animations and movements kind of mix together that if it was a seamless kind of control transition, I think it would have been even better to, go right off the gate into the.
I'll definitely tell you by the end of the game, like it took me pretty much the whole game, but once I got to the end point, I was very much used to the controls, and then you just start slaying people. Like you get very adapt to the controls after a while, right? Like
right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, 90% gameplay is totally fine and a vast improvement from the first part. And then in terms of story, like I feel like I'm watching like a really really well made season of TV. The way they're telling the story, and I'm so fucking engaged, and I can't wait for tomorrow. See how it all wraps up, honestly.
Going to have to watch your stream because I do want to get your thoughts on the ending, like to some degree. Like I need to know what you think, for sure.
Yeah.
God, I gotta play it. Fuck.
Yeah, man, you do. That's your
time.
It's your.
Yeah, dude, I'm curious. What were your really quickly before we move on?
Yeah.
What was your thoughts from a narrative perspective about the DLC of the first game? Because I remember that being very profound to me, like getting the Ellie backstory.
Right.
Like, how do you feel like that DLC was as a whole from your experience?
Yeah.
Did you feel like that narrative helped tie into the second one?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I don't think it's a spoiler at all to say that, like, obviously Ellie has relationships with women in The Last of Us Part 2, and the DLC like really gave you the backstory into that kind of like awakening. It wasn't like they didn't smack you over the head with it. Obviously, they just had you kind of like along with the journey of her connection with another person that she was with. But I think it grows that character for sure, and it grows that origin story and kind of like her experience. And it was just from besides the Ellie perspective, it was cool to see what was happening while, because that chapter ended with spoilers for Last of Us Part 1. Don't worry, I'm the last one that need to be spoiled, so no one actually cares anymore. It ended with Joel like getting impaled by that piece of rebar, and then you cut automatically, I think, to like winter at that point after that. So it filled in all that story, which I loved. I loved kind of seeing what was happening and how she kind of, got the supplies to save him and keep him alive. So it worked on a lot of levels. It worked on like a character building level and filling in the gaps kind of experience.
Right.
So I enjoyed it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's good to hear.
Yeah. So transitioning into news. I know we got a lot of really big news points to hit. I'm gonna start with a personal experience and just like get this one really quick out there.
Do it.
Sims Sparked is a reality show. We hit on this last week. It's a video game reality show that just aired on Friday on TBS. The episodes are the first episode is on YouTube, on their YouTube channel now as of Monday. Watch this because it's one of the video game it's a video game TV show. We don't get many of them. It's a reality-based show, and ultimately it wasn't as exciting and well done as I thought it could have been for a video game competition show. With The Sims, obviously, the goal was to have 12 people compete for $100,000, and it wasn't well done in terms of their experience. What they did was they put people into groups of 3. So what you did was you had a builder for whatever your Sims mission was. You had a storyteller, and then you had a builder, you had a storyteller, and you had a someone else who wasn't that important, obviously, because I can't fucking remember. But like the point of the game was they made it this like very reality showy thing where they focused on the people and not the actual like activity. So most of the show was talking about like, oh, tell us about your Sims. What story did you make? And then like focusing on how well this person could communicate their Sims story, and not on the fact of like they're playing a game and they're good at the game. So they could have focused on like a building challenge and said, everyone build something to this like requirement, and then like have us, rate and judge this. And that would have been way better than like, let's judge people on their communication skills, their, story writing skills, which has nothing to do with the game itself. So it came off a little bit contrived and a little bit forced in the first episode, and they didn't highlight the game as well as they should have highlighted a game if you're going to have a game reality show, So it didn't really.
It's.
I
mean, like, where have we reached in gaming mainstream that Sims is a competition on TV? Like, it's great. In all honesty,
it's a popular
really
game
is,
for sure.
Like,
yeah. I mean, I think what sport was it where they couldn't do games and they said they were going to play a video game to emulate playing sports that they couldn't play?
Is that basketball?
I was like, that's a bet. I think it was basketball. I was like, that's a better example of this than a Sims competition.
I mean, like, the thing is though that it could have been a really good concept, and like when shit like this happens, everyone has so many eyes on it because like it's one of the first or one of the newest, right? And when it shits the bed this badly, it just like it's double disappointing because it's like now you've taken it all back this much farther,
and it scares everybody away from trying something like that.
Are you gonna give episode 2 a chance? Is there an episode 2?
There will be. I will. Okay. I'll watch episode 2. I mean, what the fuck else are we doing in quarantine, right? I'll probably watch the entire season of this just to like follow the path and see what's going on. But yeah, like the way they focused on forcing people to like make up a story out of your brain for your Sims and then tell us about it, regardless of how good you are at talking, not actually playing the game. It's a weird choice, because like reality shows, I get it, are focused on people, and you got to have compelling characters and people and things like that to have content to watch. But they could have been a little bit more like
it's a competition show. Like I wouldn't watch a cooking competition show to watch them talk about themselves. I'd watch it to watch them cook.
In a lot of conversations about this show, there were comparisons with cooking shows. Like, why couldn't you just tell them to bake something and see what you get?
But like, I do realize a lot of reality shows, they inject like the drama of the people on the show, right? Was there like a lot of that? Did they have? Because what were the personalities like of these contestants? Like, were they even?
It's all like they were either streamers or they were people that made YouTube videos for Sims, or they're people like they were just deep in the community for one reason or another. I can't think of her name offhand. I know one streamer was kind of like involved in this project for making challenges and stuff, and she kind of like went away for a couple months and designed things for the Sims here. But yeah, they did the classic reality show thing of like staging aggression between everyone else and like
I love that.
like making enemies and just like why just can we just have like a wholesome like toxic free game like about a video game? And we can't, obviously. So
no, that's not good
really,
TV.
A lot of high expectations for it, but we'll see. I'll stick through with a couple more episodes at least, just to see where it goes, see if it gets any better.
I'm going to expect a weekly update from now on.
Yeah, I mean, I need to know.
Yeah,
I will.
Not going to watch it.
The Sims community is handling it.
Yes, I know. They don't like it.
Oh man,
like
that's just
the
so
ones
funny.
that they're deeply involved do not enjoy this show. So that's your Sims Sparked update. Stay tuned for episode 2 next week.
Oh man, I'm on the edge of my seat.
I know you are. Let's go. Next, what's up next?
All right, you ready for the news, guys?
Yeah.
All right,
We
so
already hit it. That was story
that
1.
was
This is story 2, Neo. Get that
story
shit
2.
straight.
Oh shit, my B. So do you want to get right into the big story of the week?
I mean, I honestly think that most of the other stuff is just stuff we can briefly discuss. I mean, the Ubisoft stuff is probably the large chunk of conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
You want to get the small stuff out of the way?
No, I mean we could hit Ubisoft if you want to first. It's up to you guys. I mean that's really the bulk of the conversation. All this other stuff is just news points and speculation.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Because tomorrow we have the Xbox showcase as of recording this. That we'll probably talk about next week when we come back. Xbox is doing their big thing.
I just need it to be good, man. I just can't. My heart can't take Halo Infinite to be
to be anything less than good.
Dude, I'm pulling for you. Please tie your whole like excitement into this, because if it pays off, we've been broken before. We've been nothing but broken. You deserve happiness with this.
So
people are excited about playing Halo 3 right now. That game came out a decade ago. So, like,
what do you
better be good?
Yeah. So today they released the box art for it. What do you think?
Box art's dope.
Yeah. You think? Okay. You like it? It seems.
Yeah. I mean, I love the callbacks to Combat Evolved.
It does look like that. Yeah, for sure.
I think. Yeah. I mean, I think. There's just so many ways for it to go wrong that like I mean,
it's true.
I don't have any faith until they can show me something positive.
At least you can rest easy knowing it's not a battle royale. It's going to be.
Hey, they might add that. You don't know.
They might add it. That's the crazy thing.
But it won't be the main thing you're either excited or disappointed about.
Right. True.
So
true.
Let me ask you this, Locke, as the Halo guy. Do you want a return to the classic feel of Halo, or are you okay with the new modernish feel to Halo that they've been pursuing? They've been kind of injecting into Halo.
Yeah, I mean it's a really good question that I don't think I have a really good answer for, but I'll try my best. So, Halo 4 was awful. Everything about it was really bad.
Damn.
Now in Halo 5, they did movement really well with the jetpack, with the booster. Much better than Call of Duty did with Advanced Warfare.
Just makes sense.
However, I think they need to go back to just classic arena shooter, right? Like just the no sprinting, no abilities, right? Like just you pick up weapons on the map, a classic Halo experience, because ultimately that's what drives competition. I think Halo 5 had a lot of good things going for it from like a multiplayer experience, not talking about like Halo's overarching story. If we're just talking about multiplayer, I think it was a definite improvement over Halo 4. They can take risks, and I think it's fine for them to take risks and evolve into a more current sandbox. They haven't shown 343 has not shown that they can execute that well. So I think to be safe, it's very easy to create a game. I shouldn't say this is a very armchair thing to say, but it's easier to create a multiplayer experience when there's not many levels to it in terms of like abilities and being able to climb up things and your movement. Like if it's very similar to like Halo 1 through 3, it's easier for them to get that right because there's less things to go wrong. But I hope that made some kind of sense for your question. I think I would like to see some evolution, but I wouldn't take the evolution.
So you're saying you want combat to evolve?
Oh my god! I just do it.
Yes, I'm glad you took that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We'll be all night.
With, like Valorant, I guess you can throw Destiny PvP in there. Not really, but Valorant, Call of Duty with both modes. How is, like, especially with multiplayer, how is Halo supposed to? What do you think they could do to try and stick? Because Halo multiplayer was big for 1, 2, and 3 Reach, but 4 was, people were playing it on Xbox, but it was still on the 360, and then 5, the multiplayer didn't stick. Like, everybody was just playing everything else, and then you have BRs come out right after that, so no one really paid any mind. What do you think they could do to try and like make it stick?
That's a good question. I think that's where like the core gameplay really matters. What Halo always did well was you had a sandbox that was static, that didn't really change. So you had your Halo 1, you had your pistol. Halo 2 and Halo 3, you had your BR, you had a rocket launcher, and you had a sniper. And that was literally it, right? So there's not mastering a lot of different weapons. It really just came down to map awareness, teamwork, and your raw skill with your primary weapon. And that's what Valorant does extremely well, and that's why it's also really fun to play, and it's also really successful. The sandbox is static. You have a core group of really good weapons that you would use in later rounds, that you only really have to get good with just those. It is solely focused around teamwork and map awareness, and that's why it's really good. The difference between the two is like Valorant is, all you have to do is click ahead once and die, versus Halo having shields, and it's a little bit different with health, ability, regeneration, and things of that nature. So that's just a different player base wanting to play Halo versus Valorant, depending on what type of shooter experience you like. But the core mechanics of it just come down to raw skill with your gun, the ability to learn the map inside and out to where you know little things that just the average gamer doesn't know, and then your ability to work as a team. So I think if you can hit all of those points, it will stand out as a competitive game. And it can compete. Like Halo can come back to the forefront as an esport if it hits those things really well. And that's where they missed the mark on Halo 4 and Halo 5. The guns didn't feel great in Halo 4. They felt extremely clunky. Sprinting didn't feel right in Halo 4. The maps weren't great for it. And then in Halo 5, they fixed the movement. But to your point, it just came out at the wrong time. There were other things happening, other games were happening at the release of Halo 5 that took all of that draw away from it.
Yeah, it kind of pushed the industry in a different direction, right? Like that's what it was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Demos makes a really good point. BRs were on the rise. I'm assuming, I don't remember timeline specifically, but you have PUBG coming out probably in a similar fashion to that, which took everything by storm, right? But Halo 5 had a lot of good things going for it. The guns in that game, while there were a lot of wonky ones, the core gameplay was pretty great. But the crazy thing is we all have no idea where they're going with this game.
So
all we have right now is box art.
Well, right? I have an article here. It's quoting a leak or a Halo insider who's saying the Halo Infinite Arena is going back to classic map control gameplay, power-ups and weapons on the field. There will be a lot of cool power-ups to complement the sandbox. Grappling hook, thrust, and classics like overshield will probably be involved. All this is very dynamic and might be very heavily based on playlists. So obviously you'll have your game types with certain right. modes and power-ups involved. But that is from a insider leak that was talking about this earlier this week.
And I think Halo 3 did that, right? Halo 3 took some risks with some abilities, but it ultimately didn't make it into the competitive scene because they did a really good job of making you able to take that stuff out when you built custom games. but the core gameplay was still really great. It sounds, hopefully from this leak, that's what they're going back to, right? Having a good foundational core gameplay, layering stuff on top of it for people that like to play the more social aspect of the game, and can have fun in social playlists or in some of these wonky game types. But foundationally, the esports community and the competitive scene can strip all of that down to something that can be competitive. A little bit different than Valorant's approach, which is like, this is our game. There's no other way to play it besides the way we've designed it. It's designed specifically to be a tactical shooter, and that's all it'll ever be. Halo's never really been that, though. It's always had its wonky playlists and its wonky weapons, but you've always been able to tweak the settings enough to make it something uber competitive. So hopefully they can hit that mark. If not, it's dead. Honestly, if they don't do it, Halo's dead. It's a breaking point for them.
This is the nail on the coffin.
The story's not doing great for people, so what do they have?
I mean, quite honestly, if it were to not do good from a multiplayer perspective, I would tell them to put all of their eggs in a single player experience. You can maybe do co-play, maybe you could do 1 or 2 people in a campaign, but like, don't even try and do multiplayer anymore. Put all your eggs in a campaign basket, because it's DOA after this, man.
That's crazy.
There's no way it could survive.
Halo's always been like the multiplayer game, right? Like that was one of its foundations.
It was, I mean, shooter.
Yeah, that's sold Xbox.
How I started playing it. Was playing it with 1 to 2 other buddies. Combat Evolved, right? Like, that's just or some early gaming memories with friends. Halo's had such a tumultuous time that if they don't, and they know this, right? Like, if they don't hit this, or they don't, stick it fairly well and then support it extremely well, I think it's DOA for the franchise, personally. But
wow.
Damn.
We'll see more tomorrow. I doubt we get much from the multiplayer perspective tomorrow. It'll probably mostly be campaign stuff, I'd imagine, and narrative.
Halo aside,
maybe I'll be proven wrong.
Are we expecting anything else from the showcase tomorrow? Like maybe Fable or some other franchise that we haven't seen them like whip up? They bought a lot of studios, right? Yeah. Yeah, there are rumors.
Yeah, there's rumors for Fable, which I think would be great for them. But I think I read a quote from Phil Spencer essentially saying, "Don't expect much from our game studios for a while." Still,
got it. Okay.
I don't remember the exact quote, but it did say something like, "Don't expect a lot of first party titles. Like, we just want you to know now that we're working on it and we know it's a problem, but first party titles we're not ready for that yet."
I think that's kind of what they're trying to drive home. You can play all these games on the Series X and Halo's coming out. It's because they want you to like get the console, stay in the ecosystem with what they have plus Halo, because they know there's more coming and they want you already there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean they do service better. Like we know that, like their service platform as a whole has always been superior to PlayStation's, and PlayStation has always been superior in titles. Even when Xbox had more titles to play, it still wasn't comparable, right?
Absolutely,
and I think
agree.
they're leaning so heavily into their service right now with Xbox Play Anywhere and Game Pass, because Game Pass, quite honestly, I still believe is the future of gaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it can get there. So they need to lean into that, knowing that they just don't have the first party. Their studios are not quite ready.
And keep in mind, xCloud is also another thing that they're pushing up as well. Their streaming platform.
Yeah, xCloud's another big thing. Yep. But there is, I'd have to find the Phil Spencer quote at some point, but he essentially alluded to, like, don't get your hopes up. Like, we don't want you to get your hopes up right now about first party titles. So I wouldn't expect much, quite honestly, from this in terms of surprises. Maybe a Fabled tease, like an official Fabled tease, and not just a leak, which would be great.
But not showing gameplay.
Right. That's a good point, Demo. So we might just get some more like Elder Scrolls 6 shit. Right, where it's just like a title and a scene.
But it makes me so fucking excited, dude.
So excited, right? We have no idea when it's coming out. You might not even make it, but we're excited.
Spoiler alert: Starfield is Elder Scrolls 6.
Oh,
done.
God.
Done.
Spoilers.
Oh God.
Spoilers.
Well, yeah, that's tomorrow. So I'm sure I'll definitely be watching it and see what they cook up for us.
Yeah, it's noon Eastern is when I think the stream goes live.
Oh, cool.
For it. Yep.
Well, I'll definitely be there for that. But let's move on to our big story of the night. This broke yesterday morning by Jason Schreier, the man himself. He released this huge piece on titled "Ubisoft Family Accused of Mishandling Sexual Claims and Misconducts." Oh my God! So this is off the heels.
Can we get a hand raise if anyone in this podcast at least is surprised about Ubisoft? Anyone? If you're surprised, raise your hand.
I'm not surprised that it's Ubisoft in general. Okay. I'm not raising. No one's raising their hand.
Sure,
but
no one.
This doesn't surprise me because the culture of the industry feels like it's always been like this. And when you think about like Riot Games, like their massive court scandals that they had over the past 2 years, and just other companies in general seem to all suffer from this massive issue. The article details the family members, like Ubisoft is a family-run company. Yves Guillemot, a bunch of other family-run. Just the execs are just.
I did air quotes for all the listeners at home who aren't watching live on our Twitch stream. Reminder: we're live on Twitch Wednesday nights, 7:30 p.m. Tune in.
Nailed it. Yeah. Apparently, a lot of the top management has been getting away with just the most inappropriate things that you can possibly think of. Just overall, not great behavior when it comes to handling female employees and employees of other, I guess you could say, ethnicities.
Sure. Like if we thought about it intelligently, we knew this was all a thing, right? We just didn't have the details. All we had was Ubisoft's lack of action, lack of corrective action, lack of like affirmation that things are different, lack of like, removing people that were in charge of departments, and then Jason Schreier goes and blows it all up, and then all of a sudden, you sent them on. It's like, well, okay, yeah, we're here's all the things we're doing, dude. But also, by the way, I'm staying as CEO because I'm like the best dude, and I know what things are good and stuff. By the way.
It goes back even farther than that too, because it goes back even farther than that too. Like with just you can tell by the kind of culture that they have, where it's Assassin's Creed Unity, when it was like people were talking about, that was the first one where they really talked about a female protagonist or character or something, I think is what it was. Mm-hmm. And they said, it would have cost too much to make a female model,
animations and all that too,
or animation. Like something really early on, like back then, and that was like 2013, 2014.
Straight face,
and like that just kind of sets it up for like that's just how it is at Ubisoft.
Yeah, it's two sides of the story. It's like it's portraying this like people want to create and have female lead protagonists in these games, like probably their core game, right? You think of Ubisoft, you think of Assassin's Creed, but just kind of bottom line, really. People have been trying to have a female lead probably really strongly since Syndicate, I think, right? Like maybe they had discussions started with Unity.
They had Liberation, the side game that was a female character, right? Sure. So it would have been probably after that, where they
was after that quote,
series.
Yeah. And then go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was gonna say the article details that.
No, you go.
Oh no, you go. Ooh. No, the article details that that the people who worked on these games had been trying to push for female just different than your white male protagonist inclusion, right? Like they've been trying to advocate for that for long. And then this guy that they describe in the article, I don't know his name, sorry, but he apparently just turns he straight up is like the decision maker of any of these pitch meetings, right? And he would just turn it away, going, "Yep, sorry, women don't sell in these situations," right? Like he was the guy axing the ideas that these people would come to these pitch meetings for Assassin's Creed games and other titles that they do.
Serge Hascote, and I'm probably not saying the name correctly because there is an umlaut over the E, but we'll say Serge Hascote just for the purpose of the podcast. Chief Creative Officer, and good friend of Yves Guillemot, who is still the CEO, because he has made a statement that he knows the best, and he is just the morally straight arrow that Ubisoft is going to follow. He's going to make all the decisions. Of course, everyone believes that 1,000%. But he's staying on as CEO. But this is a good friend of his, But yes, as chief creative officer, he was the one everyone went to meetings for. And like you were saying, Neo, like they just had experiences where they were like, it was like one woman in a room of, a conference room full of men judging their creations. I think there was even one story that was highlighted on a breakout tweet by Jason Schreier about how like when one presenter, when she left the room, like this dude, Serge Hascote, pulled up like a YouTube video of a band playing a song using her name, like not about her, but like it was like an explicit, like a sexually explicit song with her name in it. Like just like played some YouTube shit on their projector in the room as she was out, and like came back in and was like, oh, sorry. Like real fucking fucked up mental head games kind of shit in these boardroom scenarios.
Oh yeah, easily.
And Serge Housecoat sounds like a die-hard villain.
Oh my god, he really does. Well, he doesn't like, anymore. But the thing that always sticks out to me is like they didn't do that until all this spotlight got shown on them.
No, and they never do, right?
So I don't even fucking think Yves Saint Guillemot. No, like the CEO doesn't even give a shit.
Yves Guillemot,
but if he knew this guy as well as we expect him to know this guy as a close personal friend, dude. Yeah, you're in on this shit. It's like everyone else is.
And then like you get him like pretty much going like feigning ignorance on the whole situation. Where like, oh, I didn't realize that this was happening. But in the article, multiple people have gone to HR unheard, like completely brushed aside all complaints about this. So it's impossible and obviously HR's general job isn't to help the employees, it's to protect the company, right? Like it's almost egregious that he would feign complete ignorance on any of these situations that have occurred.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm too busy running the company. I don't know what's going on in these fucking meetings. Like, okay, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I would almost lean more towards him knowing him as a friend. I honestly, I could see that happening. I could see some HR person just burying it and him not knowing. Like, just because someone submits an HR complaint does not mean that the CEO is going to know about it, right? But I think if he knew this person as a friend, this dude doesn't act like this just at work. He clearly acts like a raging douchebag like throughout life, right? So he has to know that the guy is not, a good person.
Because that kind of shit, it's not, you don't just hide that. That's part of your personality. It comes out in so many different ways.
Correct.
So many different ways.
Right.
Another detail. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, cool. Another detail that we learned. Now, this was interesting because this is actually a good thing for Felix to have chimed in on, but because we've been talking about this a lot, like the past 2 weeks, about the narrative of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is something that Felix has been talking about. How I guess it almost bothers him. It doesn't make sense for them to have these two protagonists being brothers and sisters role reversed, and apparently in the development, Cassandra was the original pitch as the main character for that game. You weren't supposed to be able to have another character such as Alexios to play as, but they were forced to include him in the narrative because they wanted the ability for people to play as the male lead in an Assassin's Creed game, which I find absolutely fascinating. Go ahead.
It just kind of like blows my mind. Somebody's like, "Oh, women don't sell." Like, how many AAA games are there where there is a female protagonist that you play as exclusively in the game?
A lot. Tomb Raider, Horizon, like Nier Automata.
Those were some of the most best-selling franchises that exist. And it just seems weird to say, oh, it doesn't make money.
Yeah.
There's no money there.
It just comes down to a one person's opinion that makes the decision, that doesn't want to play as a female protagonist, right?
In a situation like a creative situation like that, it really shouldn't be one person, like one creative head saying yes or no. Mm-hmm. Like it should be either a team or a couple people or something, because you don't get a good gauge on what gamers like. You get a good gauge on what this one guy likes or what he thinks other people will like.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like interesting, and you can actually see a lot of like Ubisoft's decisions over the past couple of years. Like for example, Watch Dogs 2 had a black protagonist, which was I am assuming they fought tooth and nail to get, right? Like to get in there. But other than that, like a lot, most Ubisoft protagonists are very samey. They're all the same in their stories, and
they're all Nathan Drake.
They're all Nathan Drake, exactly. But yeah, so I wonder if that actually because we have Valhalla coming out, and there's also a female and male choice that you get to make throughout. As the lead. I wonder if that actually is a remnant of like the decision making that we've seen from
maybe
Ubisoft.
I think it comes down to like how they portray the female protagonist. Like Viking culture,
Female
had a
warrior.
lot of weight in female warriors, right? As shield maidens, and there's a lot of history going back to strong female protagonists in that part of history. So I think we will easily be able to tell the way the narrative is written on whether or not it was written in a way for equality, or if it was just added to appease. I think it'll be very, very apparent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Valhalla is one of the first games in a long time that I'm excited. It'll be my first Assassin's Creed game if I play it.
Yeah, you're a huge Viking fan.
Yeah, I've never played an Assassin's Creed game. So my only attempt at an Assassin's Creed game was when I bought my Xbox One. I got the Unity one, King Unity, but Unity was broken at the time.
Oh,
that's when Unity it was
pulled out their face and shit. Yeah,
it was like it was fucking unplayable. So I just didn't. So I booted it. I played maybe 30 minutes to an hour, because it was the game that I got with the console at the time.
Sure, yeah.
And then that's it. But I don't have any other experience. Like I've thought about buying Origins or Odyssey when they've been on sale numerous times on Steam. I just haven't pulled the trigger. But I will do Valhalla because I'm a huge fan of like Viking
shit.
Viking shit, yeah.
It'd be cool to see that at the most modern, up to date interpretation of an Assassin's Creed kind of world and franchise. My personal recommendation, if you have time and you are looking for something to game, the Ezio trilogy, which is Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, Revelations. Oh my god, dude! One of my favorite trilogies of games of all time. It's
Felix has tried so many times, and I probably would enjoy it. I would probably really, really enjoy it. Yeah, maybe one day.
One day.
Don't they sell an Ezio trilogy?
They do.
Yeah, that's what
they have
right?
not only a trilogy together of all the stories, but they've all like up-res them for current gen. So now you get that.
It's on PS4 currently, like Ezio trilogy on PS4.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can get it on PC too, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Those would be the ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to round out the story, or to put an end cap to it, there was an earnings call today with Ubisoft, and Jason was actually posting a lot of the details of like the call. Aside from mentioning all other stuff, which I'll get to, they mentioned that their cross-gen future games will be $60. So that's a big debate that's been happening over the past couple of weeks. Well, are they going to raise the price of games in the future for the next generation? They said,
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, with I think 2K being the only publisher who posted game prices going up.
Mm-hmm. They did, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
So that was interesting. And another thing, someone asked during the earnings call if he knew what the extent was to the extent of what was going on in the company in relation to the article that was posted. And he said each time we've been made aware of misconduct, we've made tough decisions. It has now become clear that certain individuals betrayed the trust that I placed in them. He also added, I have never compromised on my core values and ethics and never will. And
that is very shady.
Yeah, it's not answering the question, right?
Well, even saying, I made a tough decision. Yeah, you made a tough decision by literally not doing a single thing about it.
Until it was reported, right?
Until it came out. Like, oh, yeah, and they really betrayed my trust because they let somebody find out. I haven't, stepped away from my core values because I'm fine with it, so I'm still supporting. It's like enabling the same culture that they're dealing with and just appeasing, like what Locke said about appeasing by doing these decisions in a game. Like, you're appeasing the people who are looking at your company from the outside. You're not actually doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's all for what? It's all for like what's the word I'm looking for? The face value? No, it's all for public appearance. That's it. It's all for.
Yeah, face value works too. Just the outward appearance of what you're saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
To just appease people. You know.
Absolutely. Well, other than that, guys, if you guys have anything else to add to this, I don't know what other news you guys want to talk about that I've posted, but other than that, I think that's a show, right?
That would, in fact.
There would be one other thing that I'm interested in hearing your guys' take on is the Logic Twitch exclusivity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think.
What were you gonna say?
Before we dive in, not before, as we dive in more deeply, if we don't know yet, Logic signed a deal with Twitch to create content on Twitch. What I think is most interesting about this is not that Twitch signed him for a contract. It's just that he said, "I'm done making music.
Mm-hmm.
I just love
later.
I love gaming so much, and this is just what I want to do." That's what blows my goddamn mind.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Logic. I've listened to his music for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's done streams before, and I've watched him stream before, and I've watched him play with other streamers. So it's cool to see that. I mean, he definitely has the privilege to be able to be like, yeah, I'm gonna just be a Twitch streamer now, and play video games for a living. But it caught me off. It's not crazy, but it did catch me off guard to see that in my Twitter feed. Out of nowhere, just like Logic retires as a rapper and is now signing a Twitch exclusivity deal to play video games. I was like, what?
I mean,
where'd this come from?
This is just a really smart deal on Twitch's side, because slowly, like with kids getting older, the gaming market like spreading as far as it has, they're making gaming and even watching streams or streaming gaming more accessible and more relatable to more people. So like 2 years ago, if you were watching a stream of a game, someone will think completely different versus if you watch a stream of a game now. And throwing a musician, a really popular musician, a exclusive contract on Twitch to stream games, it's making that culture more accessible, making it more, normalizing it to more people. So you had like Ninja with Drake on, where it got really big, and now you've got Logic streaming on Twitch.
True. We're gonna say true.
Well, all that is definitely true as well. It's great visibility. It's great like acceptance and openness for games. I think about it from a different perspective, from Logic's perspective, and it's kind of funny because like I don't want to get too like heady here. I don't want to get too like philosophical really for the show. It's not kind of what we do on the show. But like think about Logic, right? He's like a very talented musician. Mm-hmm. And like people that are very talented are supposed to like get passion out of the things that they do. You know? But like think about yourselves, your everyday work, your life is like, I go to work because I have to go to work, and I make money because I have to make money to exist. And I bring the money back to my family, and that makes my family exist, and like, so on and so forth. You do that because you have to, right? Logic made music because he had to, and that was what made him successful. But now he's made it, right? Like he's done. People know Logic, people know what he does. Now he's like, cool, I've done this. I'm going to fucking trade this for this, where I get paid still, and I just get to fucking chill and play video games. People can watch me or not watch me. It doesn't matter because Twitch is paying me regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to get money on top of that, obviously with subs, with tips, with bits, with whatever. But the dude just took like the hard work dream into like the I'm going to do nothing dream that we all want to live. That we all live when we come back from work.
You
right?
could
like,
argue
home from work, and we're like, I'm going to play games with my friends. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to go out with my friends tonight on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore because it's 2020. What a fucked up year. But like you get the point, right? Like we live for those moments where we don't have to be making someone else's dream.
Well, you could argue that he climbed the mountain, right? Like he did it. He became a
instead of
musician.
Staying, people that like do that stay there because they need that, right? They're like, I need to make music. I need to make whatever. I'm this creative soul, whatever the fuck. But he's like, no, I did this, and now like I'm going to take this and just like game. And you guys love it, obviously, because you gave me the money to do this. So,
right
here I am playing video games. It's just a wild concept about like
it's crazy.
Like,
Dude. That's why it broke my brain. It broke my brain when I read it. I just didn't.
And going in like a going on like a philosophical way, it might be like his perception of the industry he was in is changed, where it's like just like the atmosphere he was in before, and now when you're gaming, like you said, you just chill, have fun, and just interact with all these people that are your fans, like interact with them on a daily or a consistent basis, and like get that instant feedback, that instant gratification that a musician might not necessarily get the same way.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said about the type of musician that he was, right? Like as a rapper, he was not someone that did more poppy stuff, more mainstream. He had a few mainstream hits, but most of his discography is not like radio ready music. It's like super lyrical, right? And there's not a lot, like in the grand scheme of things, there's not a lot of money to be made in that type of music, right? Most people make, radio hits because that's where the money is. I think probably part of it is also it's just a better business decision for him to be able to probably less stress and potentially more money to be a Twitch streamer. So it might have just been a no-brainer for him to say, like, yes, I do like making music. There's nothing saying that I have to stop making music. I'm just not producing albums under a label anymore. I can now be independent. It could be a part of my Twitch channel. Like, it just gives him the opportunity to do whatever the fuck he wants now, because now he's a content creator. His content can be music, right? It's not saying he has to play video games. He could be a variety streamer. He can blow up the music channel. He now has complete control, right? Like, well, I guess Amazon has some control, but I think it opens up the doors for him as a creative individual to do more. So, like, he does the backbreaking business of, like, essentially being owned by a label for so long, to the point where, like, okay, I've peaked. Now I can do whatever the hell I want. It's super interesting. So I'm really curious to see where his channel goes, and what he does with it. If it's strictly gaming, is he going to do musical stuff? He's the first person that can play music on stream that won't get fucking
DMCA'd.
Yeah,
you can play his own music. Yeah,
his discography. Yeah.
On a slightly different tangent, but still a very similar note. Have you guys heard about what T-Pain's doing?
Nope.
T-Pain has been making music while streaming on live. He's been making what he calls the Pizzle Pack, which is DRM contract-free music for you to use while you stream.
That's really nice. That's really dope.
That's as far as his rights go that he gives you. Like, you can't, like, use it as a YouTube intro. You can't use it for certain other things. But, like, if you want to just have it as background while you game and broadcast, you can. So he's been hopping on stream. He makes all these beats, puts it into the Pizzle Pack. Pizzle Pack is out. He's working on Pizzle Pack 2.
Oh, shit.
And it's just, it's a really fucking cool thing, dude. Like, and he's just, like, very tuned into the community. Like, T-Pain has been a streamer for years and, like, a gamer for years, so he's not new to the community. But, like, again, like, people may not know that he's part of this whole gamer culture. But, like, as soon as, like, the DCMA stuff really started hitting, he was like, I'm just gonna make music for you guys to use and not get hit with this shit.
Right. It's pretty cool.
It was very cool.
So what do you think? Does this set, like, a precedent for the future of, like, artists just going, like, or not even just artists, like anybody, because, like, anybody who's reached the pinnacle of fame, not even just like Logic, but like actors or other musicians or whatever, just going, screw it, I'm just gonna stream on Twitch from now on. Like Mark Hoppus was playing Last of Us 2 on Twitch, just having a good time. Like, he's one of the singers of Blink-182. In case,
well, I'm already sort of familiar with a few other musicians, whether it's like band members or something like that, where they'll stream on Twitch in their off time because they, like I said, they kind of get to, like, talk with their fans and interact with people, but it's also just them relaxing and playing a game. And they, like, it's kind of the same culture of where you're playing a game and you've got Twitch chat. It's kind of feels like it's got that similar feeling of hanging out with your friends when you were little on the couch, like one of you's playing the game, the other one's watching you, stuff like that. So I know of a fair amount of musicians that do that. So it wasn't like a crazy thing. It's not really like on Logic's level of fame, but it's, I mean, no one's signing exclusive contracts, but it's still, a lot of them do it for like fan interaction and stuff like that.
Yeah, Twitch is like an amazing platform for that, or any kind of streaming.
We're gonna say, Locke?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an opportunity for people to use the platform in different ways than just like I turn game on, I play game, right? And I think we'll start seeing more evolution around that. Like, there's plenty of artists that have done all of this work without platforms like Twitch, right? Like Macklemore comes to example. All of his following came from his own music creation and YouTube, right? To where then he became mainstream and was not owned by anybody. And that can happen with somebody on Twitch, right? Or somebody can say, I want to break away from my label, my contract, and I want to use Twitch as my platform to do these things. I think we will see Twitch continue to evolve, as time goes on, because I think we've only really scratched the surface of what's capable of direct, consumer to product, right? Like we have a direct line to something that we enjoy, whether that be a personality or the product that they're making. So I think we're not even close to what can be done with it. And I think, Logic is just another step in that direction. What were you going to say, Trip?
Well, kind of when you said another step in the consumer or the creator to consumer kind of chain, like it is. It's just another way for people to leap from one thing they're good at to another. Or if they have enough like influence or clout or power or whatever word you want to use for it, they could force that leap just to see what happens. We've been seeing a lot of people do master classes. I'm sure you've seen these advertised on your YouTubes, your Instagrams, whatever. But a master class is a celebrity taught course about something, right? Like music or acting or something. But it's like a name that like Deadmau5 does EDM music production. Before we found out, how much of a shithead he was. Kevin Spacey did like a master class about acting. Like all these people have like their own master classes where you pay like $100 and you get them talking to you as if you were in a college course about how to do what they do. That's just them like iterating on skills they built, and it's just a way that the internet kind of connects people and makes people flex other skills in other industries, and it's an element of transitioning into where we're going into the future, kind of. And it's just like Twitch is an element of that. The Logic thing is an element of that. It's just like people dipping their toes in a different kind of new pools, And it's all so new. All of this is so new.
It's also a really good time for growth too, because with COVID and everything shut down, like musicians aren't touring, some actors aren't in film production, like all of these celebrities and these creative people, they can't do their job, so they look to other places to do things or interact with people.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
Oh, I'm glad I brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Welp.
That's the show.
The fucking
that sounds like a show, guys.
Dude. I can't get over it.
All right.
Didn't you know? It runs deep.
All right.
Anyway, guys,
take us out.
Okay, never mind. I don't want to bring. I have something else that I was going to bring up, but
okay. We'll talk about it in the post show. If you guys don't know, there's a post show. Watch us live. Again, Wednesday nights. Twitch.tv/emerge_gamer. I'm Trip Zero. You guys can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/trip0tv. I stream Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Tomorrow, my last stream of the week, will be the end of The Last of Us Part 2. And then the next week is a whole new adventure. Who knows? I've been thinking about going back to Breath of the Wild. I've been thinking about doing more No Man's Sky because they just dropped a Desolation update. I did one little exploration of an abandoned freighter, which was very spooky, very cool. Who knows? We're gonna just have a great time on the internet. So follow me there on Twitch, and all my socials are the same, so I'm very easy to find. Go for it, Neo.
I'm Neo Yoshi. You can find me at Twitter at Neo_Yoshi, twitch.tv/Neo Yoshi. Streaming Ghost of Tsushima right now. I have no more streams planned this week. I'm going away. But I'll be back probably Monday night or Tuesday night with more Ghost of Tsushima. Going to finish that game. And after that, I don't know, more Valorant, I guess. That's the only other game I care to play around with right now. Well, cool. See ya. Locke.
This is Lock and Key. You can find me on Twitter at Lock_Key. That's really the only place you'll find me. If you'd like to see me calling people out on their bad takes or arguing with people over the internet, follow me on Twitter. Yeah, thank you for listening. See you soon.
And Demos, where can people find you?
My Twitter handle, you guys see it, AW_demos. Once in a blue moon, I'll stream. If you want to toss a follow, R_demos. Other than that, all I can say is subscribe on YouTube, watch the podcast there. Yeah, on top of listening.
Demos, thank you so much for everything you do in the community. It is massively appreciated.
You do a lot of work, man. It is very much appreciated. So thank you.
And thank you. As soon as we can get it up, make sure to listen and/or watch the Ghost of Tsushima spoiler cast.
Yes.
Coming soon, TM.
TM.
All right.
All right. Later.
See you guys next week.